I'm all for Christmas, all the happy smiles and the wishes, and I want it all from the lights to the mistletoe. Tell me one thing, is there anything that you're missing? I will keep you warm as soon as you remove that snow. Whatever we do, we will be alright. These holiday wonders will open your mind. May all your wishes tonight come true. The love I lived, the dream I knew. This Christmas I only wanna be close to you.
Welcome to All the Stitches. My name is Colleen and I'm coming to you from the Lakes region of New Hampshire in the United States. Today is episode 30, the big 3-0 today. This is my channel about quilting, knitting, cross-stitch, needlework, and whatever other crafty thing I might be up to. Today's episode is going to be about quilting, knitting, cross-stitch, and a couple of other surprises. Some of those other things are going to show up. But first, I have an announcement to make, and attention all cross-stitchers out there. I have made my first Flosstube video. It has not gone up yet onto YouTube because I'm waiting until the day after Christmas because there are several gifts shown in that video. It's going to be right here on this channel. And the reason I did it is I've gone kind of crazy with cross-stitch lately, and it's kind of all I want to do. So I thought I would fill a whole episode just with cross-stitch. So please look forward to that on December 26th this year. I will be putting out the first Flosstube. The subtitle, it will be episode 31, but it is Flosstube number 1. Just for ease of the cross-stitchers, you can find it that way. And just a note too, because I know I have some subscribers who watch who really don't know what that is. Flosstube is just a group of people who make YouTube videos, and the whole subject of their shows are about cross-stitch. So today I realize I'm in a different location because I wanted to get my little Christmas tree here behind me. And hopefully the angle's a little weird, but hopefully you'll forgive me. Just look at the Christmas tree. So I'm gonna get started. I'm showing one cross-stitch, maybe one cross-stitch finish and one cross-stitch in process. Today, because everything else cross-stitch related has been already filmed and uploaded to YouTube, and although it won't be released until the day after Christmas. Anyway, so here's my first cross-stitch finish. I'm showing this because I've shown this before on this channel, and I just want to show you that I really finished it. This is a Prairie Year pattern, the chart by Prairie Schooler. It was intended to be small ornaments, but I put it all on one piece, and I love these patterns. There's one for every month. I started it in March, and I just continued pretty much once a month until I got to the end of the year, and I think September or October, I just couldn't wait any longer. And I just started to just continue each block until I finished. And so that obviously is not framed. And excuse my funky batting that's holding it, but I didn't want the light to shine through. So that is one finish. You'll see that again in the Flosstube, but you'll see many other projects as well. Okay, the next project is going to be It's not cross stitch, but it is like cross stitch. And it is this pillow. This is, here's the back. It's just like a velveteen. This is actually quick point. Now, I did quick point years ago, but I didn't remember it being this way. I have to say, it took a long time. I mean, I got this, I think last Christmas. And I worked on this, it might have been the year before, but I basically worked on this a good part of the year. It is, when I saw a quick point kit, I thought it was like needlepoint. You know, needlepoint, you would stitch in one direction, you make crosses. So it's like cross stitch, you have to go in both directions. I kept joking that I have to make this twice because I thought it was only making the stitch in one direction, but you have to do it twice. But anyway, I think it's so cute and I was really glad to get it done. This is a kit that came from the Stitchery catalog and online. And I'll tell you, it looks really great up in my sewing room, in my sewing studio on the couch. And I can sit there all winter. So here's a quilt finish. I might be able to show part of this. Let's see. I'll insert a picture so you can see the whole thing. This was a stitch along hosted by Liz from Elizabeth Ann Can Stitch. It was called the Fat Quarter Hourglass Remix. And it was made from 20 fat quarters. So there was a set, I had a set of 20 fat quarters from Kim Diehl, and the fabric line is called Christmas Farmhouse. Well, I love her fabrics. I love everything she does. So I decided to jump in and go ahead with this stitch along. And she has a set of tutorials. There were maybe 3 or 4 of them. And I really recommend following it. It's an interesting technique, the way you start with cutting an 18-inch square, you recut it, sew it together, recut it again into these hourglass, meaning like this, hourglass type shapes, and then finally sew them together. This was machine quilted at a local shop here, and they did a great job. Really thought it was fun. Liz is fun to watch, and anyone who's interested in quilting and cross stitch should give Elizabeth Ann Can Stitch a look. And believe me, she doesn't need my help. She has a lot of followers, as she should. She does great work. I think I'm moving on to knitting right now. And the first thing is this sweater that I finished. Here you go. You can see the texture here. This is called the No Need to Panic sweater. It is a design by Casapinka. The yarn is from Craft House Magic, and it's a DK yarn, and it is called Pretty in Pink is the name of the color. I'll tell you, I love this pattern. I think this is my favorite sweater pattern I've ever knit, and all this texture is just adds so much to it, but it couldn't be more easy. And I looked at the instructions at first and I said, oh, I don't know about this, because that's where my brain goes. But then I've just followed step by step. She linked a couple of videos, and I found it so helpful and so easy. And on top of that, the yarn itself from Ellie of Craft House Magic is just gorgeous. It's a gorgeous drape. I love that it's not just a solid pink. It's sort of a tonal, so the light parts come through. Gorgeous. I highly recommend her yarn as well as the pattern. This is something I showed you as I was working on it, And I finished it a while ago, but I don't think I've showed it done. This is the Habitation Throw. The pattern is by Helen Stewart. By now, I think every knitter in the world knows all about the Habitation Throw. It was a pattern she released in 2020, I think, just as the pandemic started, and everyone in the world was staying home and making the Habitation Throw, at least everyone in my world. And so the yarn was from a set that I had from Koigu, and it is, let's see, it's their KPPM set. I can't remember what that stands for. I will put everything, all the descriptions down below. The color of the yarn set is called Fall Leaves, and it took 2 sets. I think I had a few. I had a couple left over, but it took 2 sets. Again, another wonderful pattern. This is the second Habitation Throw that I've made. I've made some socks since last I saw you. I forgot my sock blockers down here, but that's okay. These these were my Halloween socks. Now this project has been hanging around for a couple years, and I finally got it done this year. The yarn, it came with a set with a bag and the yarn. And of course, I had to have both. It was a little Halloween bag. But the yarn is a company I'd never heard before. It is Gilli or Gilli, Gilli Color Yarn. It changed color. So here's where I started at the top. It was this bright orange. It got more pale. And then it went into this light gray to a darker gray. And there was even another darker gray, and I just didn't get to it. As it is, I had to kind of start chopping up the yarn so that I could get most of the colors in. And they're really long socks because of that. But they're fun. They're a nice, I think, a fall or Halloween sock. I just did a heel flap and gusset, and that's that. The next pair of socks that are finished are these. This yarn is from Woolen Nosh. They are, if you're saying they're big, they really are. They're huge. I think their yarn is I can't say that it's DK, but it sure isn't fingering. And I should have dropped down a smaller sock size. But you know what? They fit, and they're good for sort of hanging around the house. But the Woolen Nosh, very squishy, nice yarn, and this colorway is called Ski Bum in the Summer. One more knitting project that's finished. That is this fellow. This is the Snowman. The pattern is by, I'll put him somewhere where you can see him better. There. The pattern is by Susan B. Anderson, and you all know that, knitters know that Susan makes really fabulous knitted dolls and animals and all kinds of things like that. And this was so easy. I thought it'd be fussy and everything. No, I really knit this in a day. Maybe it fell into the next day, but I just love it. It's the Snowman by Susan B. Anderson. The yarn is hers, Barrett Wool Company. It came as a little kit. Okay, that's all for my knitting finishes. Here I have a sewing finish for you. It's not what you think. It's not a quilt. How could I resist this? This is Tomato Tier Pin Cushion. It was a tutorial on YouTube called, on the channel Celeste Creates. I followed along that whole tutorial and became obsessed with having to make these tomatoes. And they are stacked together, they're squished together, they're held with some floss and sewn right through in buttons, top and bottom. Of course, I had a little baseball button to put on the bottom. I thought she had a great idea, and I did the same on my snowman too. She put rice on the bottom. She filled the bottom of the bottom tier with rice and then stuffed the rest of it with quilt batting, any kind of fiber film. And then the top two tomatoes are just filled with fiber fill, but that gives it weight and it sits nicely. I filled the little strawberry with ground walnut shells. Now, if I were to do this again, this is a lot of fussy work, but you know what? It was fun to do. But if I were to do this again, I'm not sure I would bother stitching. These leaves were kind of fussy. You had to cut two, sew them together, turn them right side out, blah, blah, blah. And then, you know, try to poke these points out. It was a little fussy. I kind of got halfway through and I thought, you know, there's no reason why I couldn't have just cut the leaves out of green felt. You wouldn't have to finish the edges or anything like that. And I think if I were ever to make it again for a gift or something, that's what I would do. I would just use green felt. I think they would stand up just as nicely as this, as the fabric. In the fall, I took a class in needle felting, wool felting. And here's what I made. The class was with Nasa Russo. And come to find out, she is a wonderful, not just a felter, but an artist. She creates her own designs. The class was fabulous. It was 6 hours, and I barely got anything done. It takes a lot longer than you think. But I loved it so much that I went home and I ended up ordering another kit from her to do a bear of the same kind of scene, but with a bear. And she has a lot of kits. I'll link her, I believe it's an Etsy shop or website. I'll link it below. If you're afraid to do needle felting, but you've always been interested, please don't be afraid. It is so easy. She said even an 8-year-old could do it. And that could be true, though. It could be dangerous because those needles are sharp. But here's the back of it. So it goes right through these 2 layers of wool. And I'm still not done because it actually gets wet felted. And she did a demonstration of that. And I just haven't gathered my, the things that I need in order to felt it. And I've gotten up my courage because what the wet felting does, my arms are getting tired here. What the wet felting does is lock the fibers in. It will shrink up a little bit and lock the fibers in. And then you can cut it and it won't fall apart. So what I plan to do with this and the bear when I do that is, I think, make pillows out of the 2 of them. But, yep, that's Nasa Russo. I'm going to show you some of my works in progress. Here are some of my current whips. And this is a cross stitch one. This is a pattern from Primrose Cottage Stitches, and it's Christmas Rules. And I've really just gotten started in the last few days. And here it is. This has become my new obsession. I just can't wait to work on this every day. I love stitching words. What is that? Stitching letters is just so satisfying. They're quick and they're a lot of fun. I love all the different texts that you can use. So this has been fun. This is going to be my December stitching project because, Christmas. Now I have 2 current knitting projects, but in all honesty, I have so many knitting projects. For a while there, I had a squirrel attack. Or an attack of the squirrels. I just kept casting on. I kept starting new things, and I wouldn't be satisfied with it, and then I would try something else. But as a result, I have so many knitting whips right now, but I've decided they were really starting to weigh me down. So I decided to just start focus on a couple things. So that's what I'm doing. So I pulled out an older skein of West Yorkshire Spinners. This is one of their Christmas colorways, and it's their signature 4-ply. And I started the sock. Now this is from, oh, I don't know, I can't remember if it's last year or the year before, and it is called Fairy Lights Sparkle. So see, it has the stellina in it, so it has a little sparkle. I don't know if you can catch that. But I was very surprised at how it's knitting up and how the stripes look. They almost look like it's color work, but it's not. So that's been fun. Oh, I take that back. I'm not working on 2 knitting projects. I'm focusing on 3 knitting projects because this is an easy one. This is, okay, this is the Cozy Knitter. This is their 24 Advent stripe yarn. I do this, I've done this every year for, I don't know, 3 years now, I think, and she just never fails to impress me. Her colors are absolutely gorgeous. So you knit a stripe a day, or I knit a stripe a day from December 1st right up through Christmas. And then I'll go in and add the toe and heel. Love it. And I do 2 at a time. So I do, because the stripe isn't easy. You know, it's a fast knit just to knit 1 stripe. My big knitting project is, wrong way. This is the throw over. You can see I haven't done the arms yet. This is the throw over sweater by Andrea Mowry. I'm halfway through the ribbing on the waistline. And I love the colors. I love how they turned out on this. This yarn is from Magpie Fibers, my favorite. And it is nest worsted. The color is, the main color is Twilight Dark. It's a dark blue. Has a little bit of modeling in it, which I hope you can see, which is really nice, makes it interesting. The colors in the yoke are from Spin Cycle Yarns, and I do not know, no, I don't know the name. I know one of them is Deep Bump. There are 3 yarns. One is Deep Bump, and I cannot remember the other 2, but again, I will put those names down below. So this, because it's a worsted weight yarn, it is absolutely flying off my needles. I've made this sweater before, but I actually really like this one a lot better. So that is what I have been up to. Now, tell me what you have been up to. Are you making gifts for Christmas? Are you, whoops, are you, I just lost my yarn. Or are you working on your own projects, your own home, projects for your own home? Leave a comment below. Leave a comment below anyway, because I really enjoy reading your comments and I appreciate it. So one more thing to say, and that is, if you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button. It really helps. Please subscribe if you're not already a subscriber to the channel. You'll be notified of my Flosstube video when it comes out. And in the meantime, as always, well, first of all, have a wonderful, wonderful Christmas or holiday, whatever holiday you celebrate, a wonderful winter solstice or a wonderful winter. And then, as always, well, this time I'm joined by my little friend, Frosty. Frosty and I would like to tell you that we hope all of your stitches bring joy.